Okay, let's get into this. We have a really fascinating deep dive today on modern dating, attraction, commitment, all of it.
It really is. And we're not just, pulling from pop psychology here. We're looking at transcripts from actual clinical experts like Sadia Khan and Dr. Emma Blake.
And weaving in the wisdom of Esther Perel, which always adds another layer.
Exactly. And our mission, really, is to give you a kind of shortcut, a way to get informed on what actually drives attraction that lasts, long after that initial sparkle is gone.
Right, we're moving beyond the surface level stuff.
We're digging into the psychological mechanics that reward real connection, with a big focus on self-mastery and communication.
And what really jumps out right away is how direct this advice is. It just cuts through a lot of the conventional wisdom.
It does. The big takeaway is that it's not about your bank account or your job title.
Not really. It's about your capacity for self-discipline, your emotional maturity, and maybe surprisingly, how you handle conflict.
And that's where it gets interesting. Because to understand what works, we first have to look at what doesn't. There are these two relationship archetypes that suffer the most.
The archetypes of failure.
Yeah, because they just chronically accept the unacceptable.
And we're talking about the nice guy and the codependent woman.
Now, these sound like stereotypes, I know.
A little bit, yeah.
But the sources define them in a very clinical way. They are these hidden killers of any real, authentic connection. Let's start with the nice guy.
Okay, so what's his profile?
It's not about him being kind. That's the key thing. It's about a deep-seated avoidance of conflict. It's submission.
He's always seeking that external validation.
Constantly. Especially female approval. He needs it to figure out his own value, so he becomes an expert at mirroring what he thinks his partner wants to see.
And the sources trace this back to childhood, right? With his mom.
Often, yeah. A boy learns what makes his mother happy. Be quiet, be obedient, don't make waves.
So he gets rewarded for being compliant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is great for a parent, maybe, but it's absolutely poisonous in a romantic relationship when he brings those same behaviors, that obedience, that fear of challenging his partner. He just kills his own authenticity.
And the result is low sex appeal.
Totally. Women are drawn to partners with structure, with a backbone, not subordinates who are basically asking for permission to exist.
Okay, so then on the flip side, we have the codependent woman.
Right, and her defining trait is this premature attachment and just a shocking ability to ignore the most obvious red flags.
The sources called it trauma shopping.
That's the term. She actively seeks out partners with huge problems. People who are emotionally unavailable, maybe they have addiction issues, intense trauma histories.
But why? What's the function of that?
It's a distraction mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant, if unhealthy one. By focusing on his overwhelming problems, his crises, his drama.
She never has to talk about her own stuff.
She never has to get into her own intimate emotional details. She uses his chaos like a shield. She feels needed, she feels useful, but she's never ever truly seen.
And the examples are wild, like the partner caught on dating apps who claims his phone was hacked.
Right. And she'll believe it, or at least pretend to. That level of denial it's a huge sign.
So in both cases, the nice guy and the codependent, it all boils down to low self-esteem.
It does. They normalize being treated poorly.
Yeah.
Because deep down, they just don't believe they're meant to be overly adored and loved, so they take whatever crumbs they can get.
Which leads us right to the core issue for both of them, avoiding conflict. We hear happy wife, happy life.
All the time.
But these experts are saying that avoiding conflict is the single biggest predictor of a relationship failing.
It seems backwards, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you're avoiding conflict, you're just suppressing who you are.
And your actual needs. You're building resentment.
And that lack of authenticity, it kills the emotional spark. And then eventually the sexual spark is gone too.
So, okay, how do you fix it? The sources have a formula, a really simple one.
3-part formula. It's clean, it's assertive, and it's not accusatory at all. It's, I feel the emotion when the specific event happens, and I need what you need.
I feel when I need. That's really powerful because you're owning your own feeling. You're not attacking them.
Exactly. So instead of saying, you're always late, you don't respect me, which just makes people defensive,
Yeah.
you say, I feel worried when you don't text me that you're going to be late, and I need you to communicate your schedule changes to me.
Yeah.
It's about behavior, not character. It's about growth, not fighting.
That's such a practical takeaway. So if the nice guy fails because he lacks that internal structure, what does the opposite look like?
Well, that brings us right to this idea of redefining high-value masculinity. masculinity.
A huge theme in the sources.
Huge. And they argue pretty forcefully that true male freedom is self-control. It's not hedonism. It's not chasing every impulse, whether that's, drinking or sleeping around or spending money.
That completely reframes the idea of freedom. It's saying if you're just a slave to your impulses, you're not free at all.
You're not. A high-value man resists those temporary desires to hit his long-term goals.
Right.
That discipline is the foundation of self-respect. If he can master himself, he signals that he has the judgment to master his world and, crucially, to honor his commitments. You trust a man with discipline.
And the flip side of that is pretty scary. I mean, Dr. Emma Blake, the urology specialist, talks about this trend.
A really concerning one. She connects excessive porn consumption with erectile dysfunction, or ED.
How does that work?
Well, the constant, super specific visual stimulation can desensitize the brain. So a real nuanced interaction with a partner just isn't stimulating enough anymore.
And that physical problem feeds a psychological one.
It creates this profound fear of rejection, performance anxiety, and when real intimacy becomes that scary, some men just outsource it. They go to escorts.
Why?
Because it's a transaction. It guarantees a lack of judgment. It's a sad cycle where self-indulgence basically kills the ability to be intimate, and then you're just searching for low-stakes approval.
So, okay, if self-mastery is the foundation, what does a man who has that need to provide to keep a relationship strong? This is where the 3 A's come in.
Yes, the 3 pillars.
Yes.
And the sources are so clear. They all have to be there, and they all have to be in balance.
First one is attraction.
Right. Physical attraction. And it matters, but not just genetically. It's a signal of self-esteem. Are you taking care of your body? Are your clothes clean? It says, I respect myself.
The number 2 is admiration.
This is about her respecting his inner world, his work ethic, his purpose, how he conquers challenges. This is where he proves that self-mastery we were talking about.
And this is where a lot of relationships get into trouble.
A huge sticking point. If the man is constantly growing, intellectually evolving, but his partner has sort of paused her own intellectual drive,
A gap forms.
a huge gap. He comes home and there's no one who can really relate to his world. The conversation just dies. It becomes intellectually boring for both.
It's about mutual growth, not just his success.
Exactly. And the third A is adoration. He has to show her love, give her reassurance. If he has the first 2, he's attractive, he's successful, but there's no adoration.
His success just makes her feel lonely.
It becomes a source of suffering. She feels like she's second place to his job. All 3 have to be running at the same time, or the whole thing collapses.
And this whole structure is being constantly undermined by the modern dating world, right? The sheer number of options.
Oh, it's a massive issue. The tyranny of ready alternatives, as they call it.
The apps have made it so much worse.
Absolutely. The clinical findings show that having fewer options actually makes you more satisfied, more grateful, more tolerant in a relationship.
But swiping culture tells you the perfect person is just one more profile away.
And that's the tyranny. You stop looking at the person in front of you as a real human. They become a draft you can just scrap and replace. You're constantly comparing them to this fantasy alternative.
It just weakens any real commitment. It feels like we're prioritizing lust over loyalty.
That's a great way to put it. It's a choice between maximizing, immediate sexual utility versus long-term stability and happiness. And you need that self-mastery we talked about to choose loyalty over the next shiny object.
So on a more tactical level, let's talk about how a man communicates his intentions.
Yeah, the experts point out that men just unknowingly give away their power with really timid, approval-seeking language.
Leading with a plea, not a plan.
Exactly. Things like, can I take you out sometime, or would you want to hang out? It's not a statement of intent. It's asking for permission. It signals neediness.
Which kills that attraction that comes from decisiveness.
The fix is to just shift the frame. Don't ask for approval, invite her into your life. So instead of, can I take you out Friday?
You say,
I'm checking out a new cocktail bar Friday night, come with me. Or, I have a plan for Saturday, museum, and dinner. I'd like you to join me. You're leading, not pleading.
That's a huge difference. Now let's pivot to physical intimacy. Dr. Blake says it starts way before the bedroom.
It's all about safety, trust, connection. And she highlights 2 kind of non-obvious spots to kiss that can spark a really deep emotional bond.
Okay, what are they?
The first is the base of the neck, right at the nape, just under the hairline.
Why there specifically?
Because it's an incredibly vulnerable spot, and it's tied directly to the limbic system, the part of the brain that handles emotion and memory. A slow kiss there says, I cherish your vulnerability. That's a massive trust signal.
And the second spot.
Just behind the ear. That area triggers oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It's where you whisper secrets. A soft touch there reinforces that this is a private, special moment between you two. It's a reminder that patience and non-sexual touch are the real currencies of intimacy.
This all feeds right into Esther Perel's work. The idea that eroticism is an art that happens between our ears as much as anywhere else.
Yes, you have to actively create desire. You have to talk about boundaries. The sources mention techniques like nameplay.
A more sophisticated kind of dirty talk.
A bit, yeah. It focuses on her desire, her letting go. It might involve using her first name, but only if you've already agreed on that language. It all comes back to clear communication, using signals like green, yellow, red to make sure trust is always there.
And when we talk about performance, the sources are all on the same page. It's not about that.
Not at all. They bring up the story of Matt Barr, the man with the largest verified penis, to make a point. Bigger is not better.
Right.
Average size is often ideal. Satisfaction comes from connection, creativity, foreplay, and just the confidence to talk about what you both need.
Which brings us back to that psychological vulnerability. If an erection fades, what a man does in that moment is critical.
Absolutely crucial. His job is to protect his partner from thinking it's her fault. And there's a specific script for this that the sources say is incredibly effective. You have to say it calmly, though.
Okay, lay it out for us.
The line is something like this. Hey, tonight it's just not happening for me. And then you immediately follow up with, it's not you, by the way. You look incredible right now. Let me just focus on you.
That's so important. You take ownership, you reassure her, and then you pivot to her pleasure.
You got it. If you show shame or get flustered, she'll internalize it as her failure. But if you shift the focus entirely to her, you lift the pressure. And often, that's all the body needs to recover. But even if it doesn't, you've just strengthened the emotional bond, which is way more important.
So, if we synthesize everything here, the lesson is really twofold. It's about internal self-mastery and careful external selection.
You have to master yourself first, through discipline and self-control that lets you be a confident leader. And only then can you really master relationships by communicating assertively and choosing a partner who actually aligns with you, who fulfills those 3 A's.
And it brings us back to Esther Perel's point that commitment doesn't kill romance. It actually gives you the luxury of time. Time to reinvent yourself, to reinvent the relationship.
Her idea of erotic intelligence. It's about creating a little distance and then bringing that space back to life.
That distance lets you see your partner again, not as someone you own, but as this forever elusive individual.
Which is what you need to keep desire alive. It jolts you out of complacency.
That is a powerful way to wrap it up. So a final thought for you to mull over. If you find yourself always complaining that your standards are too high, maybe pause and ask yourself this. Are you expecting Ferrari excitement combined with Nissan reliability? And is your focus on lust over loyalty skewing your selection process so much that you're missing out on a good story that just needs a few edits?